Hello people, this is New Sensei. Now, what I'm doing today is something I don't normally do and I don't like to do. But sometimes I come across resources which need clarification. I'm saying this not because I want to criticize a particular person or a particular channel or a particular site. In this case, I am looking at bestrecurvebowguide.com. This is one of the most popular, the largest and most comprehensive help sites for new archers, and from what I'm seeing from the traffic, there seems to be a lot of good references going on. I think in general the intention behind this site and the people who run it are well intended. There's no bad faith or deception involved. Unlike other services which I have criticized in the past, I think this is actually set up with a good purpose in mind. That said, there are a few elements here which I think can unintentionally mislead new archers or new buyers. And again, most of these things aren't serious, but because it comes down to people like me, and I'm saying I'm like the hero and the spokesperson or the pundit of archery, but people would read some of this information, they take this information to their shop or to the forums or to me on my channel on my Facebook page, and they reference these things, and it makes me scratch my head and makes me wonder where they get this thing from. And having done my own research on some of the bows I've been shooting, I've come across this site, and there are some things here, most of these things are okay, but there are some things which I really want to clarify, and some things I do want to point out for new buyers and why it's not the best sort of advice. And again, this isn't intended to be a takedown of a particular site. This is just my commentary and critique, and perhaps if you are watching this, this may help you improve some of the things on your site. So this site, Recurve Bow Guide or Best Recurve Bow Guide, I'm not sure if the best refers to best recurve bows or this is the best recurve bow guide, but anyway, so this is a guide for specifically for traditional archers. So this doesn't cover any modern target bows or compound bows, it's just trad bows. The people who created this site, there are three: Mark, Patrick and Natalia. Each one has varying levels of archery experience, but it seems that it's a hunting orientated site. A lot of the reviews and comments refer specifically to hunting, and that's fine. A lot of people do get bows for hunting and the advice is generally good, but I noticed there is a hunting bias, and the way they present information assumes the buyer is interested in hunting, which is true for some people, not for all. Now, before I go into the bows and the reviews, I'm going to go through some of the guides which they have, which a lot of these, again, are very insightful for some people. We go to, say, Recurve drawweight chart. This is my number one point of contention with some of the information on this site here. Now, this is kind of arbitrary. I know some sites will have some justification or science, but this one here seems to be a bit more arbitrary. It's based on what the authors think, and there's nothing wrong with this, except this gets shared, it turns up very high in the, if you search for like, what recurve weight should I have, you'll probably find this chart, and this is the sort of chart which I often debunk in my videos. Now, as a preface, and they say so in the introduction as well, this is a starting point. If you are an experienced archer, then you don't follow the charts, you shoot what you feel comfortable in shooting, but this is what they recommend as a starting point. But I still disagree with this, because there are some elements here which are kind of iffy. I also understand and appreciate that this is the first bow you buy, not necessarily the first bow you shoot. And the reason why I say this is, if you get the chance to shoot a low weight bow, like a 20 or 30 pound bow, then that's a good starting point to learn. But some people will have a bow, or they'll go to a club and they'll use light bows. When it comes to buying a bow, that means you don't want to spend money on extra limbs or another bow, so you typically want to spend a decent amount of money on one bow at the draw weight you intend to shoot. And I understand where the concept of making the most of your money is important. Now, that said, I generally, and for the youth it makes sense, but I generally disagree with the adults, because we start categorizing male and female and small, medium, and large frame, and generally men will be better equipped, I guess, to use heavier bows. But look, take it from me, from someone who runs a club and runs the beginner program, you see such diversity that you cannot make any assumptions between men and women. While in the end, women tend to shoot lower draw weights, I just can't say that men would shoot more. You see a lot of grown men who can't handle an average draw weight, whereas you see some teenage girls handle it just fine, man. It's just too broad for me to say for certainty. But some of these recommendations are kind of odd. So, for example, I would be classified as a small frame male based on my build, and the recommended draw weight is 30 to 45 pounds. 30 pound is where I draw the line, 30, 35 at the very most, but any more than that. And for someone who hasn't done a bow before, this is really pushing it. But then you go towards medium frames, medium frame males, that's 40 to 55 pounds, and larger frame men, 45 to 60 pounds. This is way too much. I personally would not recommend more than 30 or 35 pounds for a first bow, and a 35 pound bow will last you for months if not years before you progress. I know there's a hunting bias because it lends towards getting to hunting weight as soon as possible, but I'm just kind of worried about this because a large frame person doesn't mean they're strong. It could mean they are overweight, and overweight people, yes, they have more mass, but it doesn't mean they're stronger. And for some, I've worked with very large men who can't pull 20 pounds. I think this is a very dangerous piece of advice. People who consider themselves to be medium or large frame, while the advice tells them to go towards the lower end, they will go towards the upper end. It just seems to be a macho thing, where you want a 50 pound bow or a 55 pound bow, and that's when things get really dangerous. And personally, while I know there are some of you out there who have started on high draw weights and shoot okay, every person I've come across who started with a 45 pound bow or above has shot like crap. They have no form, no control, and some of them actually have been injured trying to use heavy draw weights. My personal recommendation is that in general, whether you are male or female, you aim for a bow between 20 to 30 pounds. You could push above 30 if you feel like you're a very athletic and strong person, and this depends on your background. You might be a swimmer or a rower, and that can give you more benefit, but I'm very hesitant to recommend about 40 pounds. So that's a general question mark over this table. I know people use this table, and I have to clarify and point out that some of these weights would be considered madness by most coaches and most instructors, and this is too high for some people. Let's go to the reviews themselves, because the list does something different, but the reviews themselves. So let's go to, let's say, bow ranking. Let's say, let's go top 10 bows. So top 10 bows on this list is Martin Saber, Samick Sage, Martin Jaguar Elite, Bear Grizzly, Hoyt Buffalo, PC Blackhawk, Hoyt Game Master, Martin Hunt, and so on, man. There is a bit of a brand bias. I think these guys are mostly Martin shooters, and they haven't handled a large range of bows, but I could be wrong here. But there are quite a few brands, but most of these are obviously trad hunting bows. But if we take a look at, let's say, a PC bow. So they list several. Let's look at the PC Razorback. I just reviewed this. So PC Razorback, they give you a bit of information about each one. So a typical review looks like this. So look at, this is they give you the specifications, they give you some pros and cons, and they give you a more detailed thing. So this is what it typically reads, and I think there are some things here which need to be clarified pretty badly. So typical bow comes in these weights. By the way, the Razorback does come in 35 pounds, according to the PC website, so that needs to be clarified. Pros: affordable starter bow for kids, youth, and adult women. Men can use it too, by the way. There's nothing wrong with men using this bow. I think there's a bit of a generalization where women will shoot lighter, weaker bows, and men shouldn't. Really, this is what we use for the clubs, Anyone can use a bow. If you're going to use a 30-pound Razorback, men can do it. Just because it doesn't have a 45-pound option doesn't mean men can't use it. It's good for all genders. Pre-draw, that's fine. Limbs can be screwed, unscrewed with an Allen wrench. That is true. Pushing, very doable for price pay. This is just generic stuff here. But then you have cons. Not enough power to hunt with. And again, I'm saying this is a hunting buyer's website. This shouldn't be a con. The PC Razorback is not a hunting bow. It was never designed for hunting. So when you say that you can't hunt with it, that's not a con. That's exactly what it is. It's not a hunting bow. And there are quite a few of these cons and pros which confuse me, because it seems like they're there just to fill space. Like, you might as well say, pro, can hunt with it. Con, can't hunt with it. Pro, can be taken down. Con, can't be taken down. Like, these things are just strange. They're just like, they're truisms. They're just not really meaningful criticisms of the equipment, and it's kind of misleading when people can read this, but at a glance, most people who buy bows will just read the summary, and if the summary is wrong and misleading, then it's a misleading review. We go to the rest of the equipment. So most of this is kind of generic copy and paste stuff. There's not much difference. These questions are well phrased from a website point of view. You want to get search results in Google, you search for these questions, and this is a good way to get hits on your website. But most of the responses are very generic. Things like, is it comfortable to hold? Yes, it is, and most time it is. There's very few bows which aren't comfortable to hold. Is it good for hunting? Yes or no? How powerful and accurate? This is where I'm not very fond of here. Things like powerful inaccuracy is not something you review. Power is based on the draw weight. Accuracy is based on the archer, and this is something you'll see a lot in the reviews we check out. So yeah, there are various questions, but most of these are generic, vague answers, which are true for all bows. But back to the point. Let's go to a different bow. Let's go to, let's say, Samick. Samick Sage. Let's go Samick Sage. And we'll grab the Polaris as well. So we'll get two Samick bows. We'll take a look at a bear bow. Let's look at the Super Kodiak. It's a very nice bow. Let's go to, let's say, a Raging bow. Raging are a good beginner entry-level brand. So to go to Raging, and we'll take on the Raging Impala. It's a very popular hunting style bow as well. So here we go, Samick Sage. Basic facts are there. Comes in those draw weights, which is true. Alright, best on budget, yeah, it's very highly rated. There's no pros and cons. This is so popular, don't bother with the summary. Okay, so yeah, this is actually quite a deep article. I'm not gonna really worry about this, because the Sage is a good bow in short. But the Polaris, this is something I just reviewed here. This is, again, some things I don't really like. Pros, excellent bow for beginning archers, I agree. Interchangeable limbs, beautiful design, that's subjective really. It's a nice design, I agree, but that's a beautiful design. It's really subjective. I find it unfair to say that it's beautiful. Some bows I will say undoubtedly are beautiful, like the bear bows are superb, but that's not a pro here apparently. But on the Polaris, which is fairly plain bow, it's beautiful. But more importantly, this is what kind of bothers me here. Cons: no bowstring included. Now, in fairness, most bows you buy don't come with a bowstring. It's something you buy as an additional a tool or accessory. And if you buy from a shop which has a package for this particular bow, and some shops do sell kits with all the things you need, then they will probably include a bowstringer. But to say as a con, no bow comes with a bowstringer. It's not something that's not part of the bow. It's like saying does not come with arrows, or does not come with a rest. That's a very unfair criticism against a bow which is a beginner bow and it's not meant to come with a bowstring. That's strange. What arrows you choose, I disagree with this. What depends entirely on your personal preference, hunting or target shooting style. I had excellent luck with Carbon Express. This doesn't make sense to me. I had excellent luck with Carbon Express. Carbon Express is a brand. It's not an arrow. When you pick arrows based on spine, not by a brand name. It's like saying the Eastern arrows are very good with this. Eastern makes every arrow. If it's not by Eastern, it's by Carbon Express. So it just seems strange. Like, it's like saying what shoes would you recommend for a basketball player? I recommend Nike. that doesn't really give you a clear answer as to exactly what you want. That's a brand name. So I think this is a very bad piece of advice. It's just it's almost like a sponsorship. You have to mention the name. I don't think it is, but it just seems strange to mention a particular brand and not a particular arrow. And of course, you can't recommend arrows. By the way, I want to point something else out here. There's a thing about beginner guide. Actually, I think it's back to the very start. Alright, found the article. So we're speaking about arrows before. This is another article from the same site, choosing arrows for your bow for ranked beginners. So they teach you to measure your draw length, use the arm span method, nothing wrong with that. What length to get, they recommend the standard 1 to 2 inches longer than your draw length, which isn't necessarily actually required, but it's a general guideline, which is okay, as long as it's not too short. But what bothers me is they recommend stuff like this. So if you have less than 50 pounds, you buy these fiberglass arrows. And if you have more than 50 pounds, then you buy these carbon arrows. It's a very generic brand name. This is not a reliable arrow. I find it strange because it's fiberglass. Now, I know it's a cheap option, and people recommend cheap arrows because you will break them, but firstly, fiberglass arrows would never fly well from a bow. You have to match your arrows or the spine rating of the arrow to your draw weight and draw length, and that means reading charts. And I know this is the simplest way to get people to buy things, but I really can't recommend the cheap fiberglass arrows. It really deceives you as to how accurate your bow is, and that is a very poor recommendation. You can do so much better with cheap carbon arrows, which are from Carbon Express or Eastern. They're very good arrows. Even aluminium arrows are very nice, but fiberglass for anything less than 50 pounds. These will not come out well from a 15 or 20 pound bow. They won't come out well from a 30 pound bow. I mean, these arrows are so stiff often that they're kind of really hard to use. I think this is one of the worst recommendations. And speaking of Amazon, by the way, every link to the bows are to Amazon, and this is kind of like a partnership or something. I don't think. I mean, I guess you're looking at neutral territory. Like Amazon is a shopping site which everybody uses, so therefore it's safe to buy bows on Amazon. But I always recommend people buy bows off Archery store pages. Check your local or your national stores. If you're in America, Lancaster Supplies. If you're in Britain, Merlin, and every country or most countries have some kind of archery store. They're more reliable than buying off Amazon. Amazon will ship you things as they are. Archery stores will actually help you out and package things and have more things you need. I think that's a big risk to put links to Amazon, because again, Amazon doesn't have the best service. Custom service, yes, but archery service, no. Alright, back to our review. So yeah, I sidetracked there. The recommendations are really weird. Alright, so the Polaris I mentioned before is some strange criticisms. Let's look at the Bear Super Kodiak. Pros, been in production since 1967, try and test it, not really a pro. It's a fact, and that's quite interesting, but also it's a pro. Super powerful for hunting. It can be. It is a good bow, but it's super powerful, and that's a strange pro. Cons can't mount a sight. Yeah, I guess it's a con. It depends. Like, if you don't ship a sight, this isn't a con. And I don't really see why this would be a negative necessarily. I know why some people might see it as a negative, but it's the labeling of pros and cons is weird here. I'm not going to read through all this, but you can see it for yourself. Here we go. Arrows for Super Kodiak. Eastern Jazz arrows. Why would you buy the cheap aluminium arrows for the Super Kodiak? Most people who shoot the Kodiak will go for much better arrows. It just seems strange to go for now. The recommendations, I mean, some of them make sense, but I don't understand the reasoning behind it. Expendable broadheads or whatever. I don't know, it doesn't seem right to recommend. People always ask, by the way, what arrow should go with this bow, but that's not the right question to ask. Like I said, arrows are based on spine rating, not by this arrow goes with this bow. It doesn't make any sense. So when people recommend actual arrows, it kind of befuddles me to see why. Regime Impala. Let's see, inexpensive start. This is alright. Inexpensive, brass inserts, rough finish. That's kind of true actually. And string lots of sharp, because What? String knocks are sharp. What string knocks? I'm not sure what this means. I think they're referring to the limb tip. I know some recurve bows have sharp limb tip grooves where the string sits, and that means that sometimes that it wears out. Now that you can sand it down and smoothen it a bit more, but I know some bows do have sharp limb tips which do abrase the string, but that's not a string knot. Let's talk about the string grooves, which it makes a bit more sense. I think I understand that now. That took a bit of figuring out there. And same questions. Is it suited for hunting? It's suited for beginners. Accessories, arrows. Again, there's no recommendation, but for some reason, like some bows have recommendations and some bows don't. I guess it's based on personal experience of the authors. Yeah, same sort of questions. Durability. A lot of this isn't really like objectified. Let's check something else. There are many more which are question. Martin, for example, Martin Jaguar Elite. Let's look at this. I've used the Jaguar Elite, by the way, and the Panther. These are kind of nice bows. Martin Jaguar. Sleek, yeah, includes bowstringer. Alright, this is one of the exceptions. The Jaguar is sold as a complete ready to hunt package. So it does include a stringer and a rest, so that's there. It's a very unusual thing to say, but I wouldn't put it as a con. This is more of a pro. Fantastic accuracy and reliability. This is a very questionable statement. Accuracy, again, is based on the user, not the bow. Unless they have tested this in a shooting machine and have objectively profiled all the data for the bows, which can be done, you can't say that the bow has fantastic accuracy. All bows, if they're tuned correctly, with the correct arrows, will shoot accurately. It's where you point it, and if you don't shoot well, then no bow is accurate. It is you who is accurate. So this is, to me, I think this is misleading to say bows are accurate. You often hear this in bow reviews and YouTube as well, where they'll shoot a new bow and they'll say, oh, it's a very accurate bow. Well, firstly, half the time the person using it is not shooting accurately. The grouping is terrible. And the other half the time, it's not them. It's not the bow, it's them. The person shooting is them. If the accuracy is bad, it's probably because the archer is bad. You can't say a bow is accurate unless you're actually talking about the inherent limitations of the materials and the construction of the bow. So if you're doing this objectively, using machine, this makes sense. But I wouldn't put this as a pro. That is misleading. You can't say some bows are more accurate than others in the same bow kind, because you can shoot a grizzly poorly, you can shoot a bear takedown poorly, you can shoot a salmon sage really well. Doesn't mean the bow's accurate, it means you are. Takedown, the plastic wrist is pretty bad, by the way, from what I've heard from the Jaguar Elite. Makes sense. So yeah, I mean, again, the same sort of things here. Where's the arrow question? Yeah, same as like don't recommend any particular arrows. Durability, same summary for everything here. There's no summary, it's just the same sort of thing. There's more. I've seen some really dodgy ones. Let's go to Hoyt. Alright, Hoyt Buffalo, that's a nice bow. We've got Samick already. Let's check out OMP. Alright, Hoyt. The Hoyt Buffalo. Best hunting recurve I can buy. That's objective. It's not a pro, it's an opinion. It's not really an advantage of the bow. Technological, that's powerful and unmatched. This is kind of very marketing heavy. No stacking is a fair statement because it draws no vibration. That's true for most bows. High quality string included, that's actually a good one. Comes with a Hoyt case. This is a good thing to mention, is the package it comes with. Again, a lot of these top end bows do come with a ready to shoot package, so that's a big deal. Seat price tag, which isn't a con. I guess if you want to be really nasty and say, oh, it costs, it's like saying pros really cheap, cons really expensive. It's not really something you mention. It's pro and con. I do it sometimes in my reviews, but for summary lists, I guess it makes sense. I'm kind of rambling on here, but I'm just not too fond of using that as a pro and con summary. Let price speak for itself. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. Hey, buffalo strings, cool. This is a much more high profile bow, so there's more stuff here. It makes sense. OMP, let's go to OMP Explorer. Alright, pros, easy takedown, good bow for the two archers, durable ammunition, reinforced slim tips, not very quiet, okay, it's fine, draw it, this thing about hunting. If certain bows are not designed for hunting, there shouldn't be a gun. It should be that this isn't a hunting bow. I find it unfair to make this a negative for a bow not designed for this particular purpose. So it's clear for viewers, readers at a glance. But this might just be a tick box. Good for hunting? Yes, no. Rather than a con. I don't think it's fair to stack these things against bows. And for someone who knows about these bows and is experienced, they can discern this. But for a new archer, it's just kind of misleads into thinking that there are hunting bows, there are non-hunting bows, and these bows can't be used for hunting. It seems weird. There was one model which I saw. I don't know which one it was, but the pro was like excellent customer service. So what? How do you get excellent customer service? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like if you're qualifying the bow, you can't just say good customer service. Depends on what you buy it from. You don't judge customer service from the bow. Maybe the manufacturer has certain customer service, but again, it's very subjective, and it doesn't apply to the buyer. If they buy the bow from somewhere else that's not Amazon, or not from the manufacturer, then their mileage will vary. You can't just qualify a bow by best customer service. It's not something a buyer is affected by. But yeah, sorry, this just went for quite a while, but it's just quite a few things bothering me. And then most of the stuff is okay. The articles are helpful enough. Some of the information is kind of generic, but some of this information can be misleading. I just want to clarify this to new archers and viewers and readers who go to this and go, "Oh, this is all I need to know." And the reality is that it is a slanted perspective, in my opinion. It is a hunting biased site which ranks bows based on their proficiency in hunting. Some of the draw weights are very hunting orientated, and while most of the things are opinion and I can accept a difference of opinion, I think some of these things could be better clarified. It's kind of a clickbait kind of approach to do all these things, and it's helpful for some readers, but in others it's not really not. Like, see best 10 recurve bows, what's the qualification here? I mean, there are some things like best recurve for money, Martin Jaguar. I'm not sure if these things would qualify this as best. Martin Saber, Bear Grizzly is a great bow, yes. Mid-price recurve, high-end hunting is the Bear Super Kodiak. It's just very limited to discuss. So, best recurve women in youth, the Razorback. It's interesting. I just don't like how it just generalizes women and youth as using inferior bows. I don't know. Anyway, this is New Sensei, so I'm sorry for this rant, but yeah, in my research, I've just found this website, and I know it's a very popular one. It just hasn't really helped me that much, obviously, because I don't need this help. But some of the comments are just strange and do need clarification. Anyway, that's my rant. Hopefully this helps somebody. This is New Sensei. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.